Hello again, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this short coffee break. May I call Mr. Amine Bensaid to come here, please? And Adélia, Lopes, and Fernanda, Candeias. Please come here. Mrs. Mr. Hein, Broekkamp, please. Mon téléphone. Okay. I also would like to check if Mrs. Saule Maciukaite-Zviniene is online with us. She is online? Yeah. Great. Excellent. So this panel session is about artificial intelligence in the elaboration of public policies in the higher education sector. I'll give the floor right away to Professor Monique Brodeur, President of the High Council of Education in Québec, on the impacts of AI on higher education, on the learning and evaluation of students. The floor is yours.
Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis très heureuse de présenter le rapport du Conseil supérieur de l'éducation ce matin et de le faire en français de plus, étant donné l'excellent service de traduction dans différentes langues ce matin. Donc, le rapport s'intitule « Intelligence artificielle générative en enseignement supérieur, enjeux pédagogiques et enjeux éthiques ». Je tiens à remercier toutes les personnes qui ont collaboré à ce projet. Puis, c'est un projet très intéressant pour le Conseil parce que c'est la première fois que nous avons réalisé un rapport en collaboration avec un autre organisme. À l'automne 2022, quand ChatGPT est arrivé, disons que ça a créé une certaine commotion dans les établissements d'enseignement supérieur, certains étant fort enthousiastes et certains étant fort inquiets de ce nouvel outil, parce que on s'entend bien, ce ne sont que des outils, comme le professeur Galab le mentionnait plus tôt. Et étant donné cette grande inquiétude, la Commission de l'éthique en sciences et en technologie, qui relève du ministère de l'Économie, nous a contactés pour qu'on produise un rapport avec eux, eux n'étant pas des experts en éducation. Donc, c'est ainsi que nous en sommes arrivés à ce travail conjoint. Nous en sommes très fiers et le rapport vient tout juste d'être lancé en avril dernier. Donc, nous nous sommes donné un mandat. Ce n'est pas un mandat qui nous a été confié par la ministre de l'Enseignement supérieur, bien qu'elle était fort intéressée par le sujet et que nous avons échangé intensivement avec à la fois le cabinet et à la fois aussi avec le ministère de l'Enseignement supérieur. Donc, le mandat que nous nous sommes donné, parce qu'il fallait bien circonscrire un objet, c'était vraiment d'étudier l'impact de l'intelligence artificielle générative, d'une part sur l'apprentissage et l'évaluation des étudiantes et étudiants, et parallèlement sur le développement professionnel des professeurs et des chargés de cours, ce qui est un enjeu important parce que, évidemment, ce qu'on a pu observer de façon anecdotique pour plusieurs, c'est que les étudiants étaient souvent en avance sur les professeurs au niveau de l'usage de l'intelligence artificielle générative. Donc, le rapport comporte 20 recommandations qui s'adressent d'une part à la ministre elle-même de l'enseignement supérieur, mais également à toutes les parties prenantes de l'écosystème de l'enseignement supérieur au Québec qui est composé du réseau collégial et du réseau universitaire. Donc, dans la façon de travailler de notre organisme, puis aussi qui ressemble en partie à celle de la Commission de l'éthique en sciences et en technologie, nous recourons d'abord par rapport à un problème aux connaissances scientifiques. Ensuite, nous procédons à la consultation d'experts scientifiques et d'experts du terrain. Et puis, avec nos instances, nous délibérons et c'est vraiment la table, le conseil et la commission qui ont adopté le rapport conjointement. Donc, nous avons lancé une vaste consultation auprès de tous.
And so we received 26 theses in about many colleges and universities, as well as from organizations and associations of students. And so this report covered 5 themes: academic integrity, instructional alignment, digital competency, information quality, in addition to other ethical issues. Related to instructional alignment, we are thinking about the pedagogical objectives and the coherence. How do we teach AI and how do we assess it? So it's a question of alignment. It should be fundamental to our reference to the usage of generative AI. And so whether it has an added value or not, related to what AI we're using and the activities there too. Positive impact is related to how do we use it in order to achieve a positive effect. Post-evaluation, the mixed committee that was founded and includes members and experts stipulates that it's teachers who are better situated in order to tap upon the potential of this AI technology in education. We also have to keep in mind that there's a digital fracture and rupture that we can clearly see in higher education. I don't know how things work with you, but there are many technologically techno-trained professors and researchers, and some of them still use this AI intuitively, and they taught themselves. But these rates differ. It's really important that these things are not limited to individual initiative, but are mainstreamed on the level of the entire institution so as to use them adequately. Some main recommendations include pedagogical alignment in the government of Quebec, that is to say, to support research activities aimed at documenting the uses of generative AI in higher education and their impact on learning. And so in order to understand better, to act and interact better, on the level of the Ministry of Higher Education, establish a province-wide collaborative body in order to gather initiatives to enhance the individual independence of these institutions. And so Quebec has created a national council for counseling in this regard. They will also work on promoting a reasoned and ethical responsible use of generative AI, as well as to reassert the prerogative of teachers to decide whether or not to use generative AI, by also respecting their professional autonomy and the principle of academic freedom. On the level of higher education institutions, recommendations include supporting the pooling of expertise, initiatives, practices, and guidelines, as well as to ensure ongoing and coordinated monitoring. That is to say, to keep watch on how the use of AI will evolve in the future. When it comes to academic integrity, we want to understand whether it's the students who work on their assignments, or it's the AI who actually does the task. And so the idea here is to avoid fraud and to finally emphasize the importance of promoting academic integrity as a shared responsibility. This cannot be the responsibility of individuals. It has to include students and teachers as well. The main recommendations include that we recommend that the Ministry of Higher Education mandates the collaborative body to formulate guidelines that respect institutional autonomy, as well as offer greater support for professional development. As to other institutions, higher education institutions recommend they foster discussion and openness between faculty members and the students' population. With the rise of AI, we feel that students are dealt with or considered as culprits of using. So we presume that they are using AI in a native way, and this undermines the trust relationship. And so we want to recreate this environment and foster a relation of trust in order to promote it, in order of course, according to regulations accepted inside these institutions, but we want to restore trust with students in order to support them to be more transparent about their practices using AI, to understand better what is permissible and what is not. And this is important to the students and teachers as well, in order to help them prepare their curriculum planning, their scoring tables. So sometimes teachers do not work with full integrity when it comes to scoring, and so these tools can help them achieve this. Teachers that have to maintain their judgments and professional responsibilities when delegating tasks to generative AI. And so these tools of generative intelligence are always useful if used well. And of course, to not neglect their professional responsibilities and maintain their judgment when delegating tasks to generative AI, without undermining their professional responsibilities, in order to guarantee the better usage of these tools and to avoid negative consequences. Moving on to digital competency, which is about the using AI and fostering digital competency in this regard. As I mentioned before, that institutions have to work on creating an environment that facilitates the development of digital skills, and so that everyone can use them and others are not vulnerable. Some people are admittedly not able to use digital tools, and so here alphabetization is really important. And so the main recommendations in this regard addressed to the Ministry of Higher Education include affirming the essential nature of AI literacy and digital competency, particularly its policies, to ensure that institutions' ability to anticipate digital development is sustainable. This is something that we work on since the start of these school years. That is to say, to provide digital sources available at home as well. And here, the ministry can work more productively in this regard, especially when it comes to knowledge transfer. As to the institutions of higher educations, we recommend they work on rebalancing teaching tasks to allow for more training time by tapping upon the uses of AI. And so this allows more time in order to develop better modes of use. If some students are advanced enough, they can dedicate more time to learn other useful skills. This will help us achieve equity. As to information quality, we recommend that everyone develops and promotes the awareness of monitoring the uses of information. It's sometimes tough to explain to students potential threats and to encourage them to diversify their information sources and to sometimes resort to primary resources and the expertise of their teachers. Other ethical issues include quality and accessibility of psychosocial services, that is to say, the impact of chatbots, because sometimes they have negative responses that do not correspond to the needs of the students. There are also environmental impacts of generative AI. And so multiple recommendations in this regard were put forth. And so in this regard, we wish that the more we favor the use of AI, responsible, conscious, and up-to-hand use of AI, the more we can benefit from it. And so it will be really important, in our opinion, to establish integration cycles that's for this technology that will impose itself and will have obvious economic and pedagogical ramifications. And so here research initiatives are very important to transmit knowledge and to create such committees quickly in order to keep up. As Mr. Ghalab has said, I think there are multiple variables, and for us in the council we do use generative AI, and I think we really have to think about these questions as members, as technicians slash teachers, in order to raise these questions. How can we use AI in a responsible and ethical way? It's really interesting to see that our this question and this debate was chosen as the main theme for this year's conference, and so we really hope that you will benefit from what we talked about. We did hold many meetings on this regard, especially the integrity aspect, and so we like this continuum. Thank you very much.
This presentation. Now the floor is to Saule Maciukaite-Zviniene. Do you hear us, Saule?
Yes, I do hear you very well.
Excellent. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Okay, good morning, everyone. Bonjour à tous. Let me quickly share the screen with you. The testing was okay. I hope you will see me. Just a moment. I will make a bigger screen. Okay, and I will manage over there. Okay. So, good morning, everyone. Bonjour à tous. It was really great to listen to the experience by our Quebec colleagues, and let me shortly present what's going on in Lithuania and Lithuanian universities and colleges. First of all, let us not forget the pandemics. So far, we were a lot frustrated by those things which happened over there. But at the same time, now when we are talking to students and the academics, we see that the pandemics was a kind of path to digitalization. And the thing is that before AI appeared in higher education, at least in Lithuania, we were kind of prepared for the possible challenges of digitalization, while developing accountable systems regarding digital education at universities and colleges, also acquiring equitable access to higher education, looking for solutions to keep the quality of higher education. And as you know, all around the world, we have at universities and at colleges, there are a lot of challenges in keeping the quality. So digital tools was one of those who had to find their applicability for saving the quality of higher education. And of course, the internationalization of studies. So recently have made it was a continuation of the last 3 years, looking how students were actually feeling about acquiring the IT tools. So as you see, almost 80% of students in Lithuania successfully applied IT tools, and only half of them, less than half of them, felt a little bit awkward or not very brave in concentrating, especially remote study process. And the least problematic for them, as you see, were in general application of IT tools. So actually what has happened and how the digitalization found its way in Lithuanian higher education, of course through active communication, the enhancing the quality of teaching, adaptation of materials already, and it was a kind of preparation for artificial intelligence, of course different practical sessions and methods which were applied. And they were all met in a very applicable way from both sides, from the students and from the professors. Now looking also at the context which matters and which also helped us to prepare more for artificial intelligence application in higher education was of course the emerging of new monitoring mechanisms, again for saving the quality, also orientation for the future study process. It was obvious for us that the hybrid method will remain. And of course, it was very clear that now we need 3 factors in higher education: people, technology, and the process itself. So digitalization opened the doors for easier adaptation of artificial intelligence in higher education. And recently, the Lithuanian Education Council have made an adult survey in Lithuania asking about the role of digitalization, asking about the successful applicability of IT tools in all levels of education. And as you see from this graph, you may notice that the majority of adults believe that in higher education, the digital process and application of IT tools is the most important in comparison for vocational education, general education, or even preschool education. And of course, it obliges both the institutions themselves and the government to look for the new solutions. So can you say that looking for the new normal, which we are still looking in higher education, can be the artificial intelligence? So when the artificial intelligence appeared all of a sudden in all around the world, the higher education also experienced a little bit of shock as well as other parts of education. But as I mentioned before, we were more prepared during the pandemics and after it while applying digital tools already in higher education. So all universities and colleges and in Lithuania introduced minor regulations for using AI during higher education processes. And I would like to pay attention that I'm not speaking about the research part. I'm speaking about the study process. So of course the academic ethics rules were introduced, new teaching methods were introduced, AI instruments, and the changes of an evaluation system. But the study shows and the survey shows that AI literacy remains a challenge for students and academics. The internal regulation on AI for higher education in Lithuania has some similarities, but so far we do not have the national standards, as for example it was presented in Québec way. AI is applied in a wide range of higher education areas right now: administration, teaching, learning, and support processes. And there is no rule fits all. we see that, yes, academic community is obliged to use artificial intelligence tools, but actually they are all responsible for the quality of their disciplines. We also see that it's mostly individual approaches, and even at the institutional level, we still do not have the institutional standards for it. We are in the process of searching. And talking about the students, it's also the individual decisions, how they do it. So higher education teachers have not yet received actually the formal guidance on the national level, and it still remains a challenge for us. Talking about artificial intelligence tools in higher education, there was also a research made. We have analyzed the recent bachelor thesis and master thesis on application of AI tools, and we see that the challenge remains with some of the artificial intelligence tools, especially in social sciences and humanities. This is related to AI generative, AI assistant, AI rephrasing, and AI text. And this is a kind of, not a kind of, but a threat talking about academic ethics, the same which was mentioned in Quebec case to the final thesis, because still the AI instruments are improving, especially in relation to generating the text, and we do not have globally still a better tool for AI instrument to recognize the plagiarism. Also continuing what the study shows, talking about Lithuania and its developments of AI in higher education, so far, mostly when we talk about artificial intelligence application in higher education, we relate it very much to research and the working possibilities in the market. And really very little so far in higher education to the developments related to the study process. So far, we also see that specific communication, if we talk about higher education, is not yet there in place, but as it is a challenge for the whole education system, we are kind of started to cooperate in all levels of education system, both general education, vocational education, and higher education. And as I mentioned before, when we talk about the governmental level, again, there are more regulation in general on the application of artificial intelligence in education itself, but less specific to higher education. And though it might be also related, and it is like this, that at the institutional level, the universities and colleges made their own decision, especially in the both European level and national level, while looking and adapting the recommendation of European Commission on the ethical application of artificial intelligence in higher education. So finally, right now we are under discussion of policy recommendation for application of artificial intelligence with very clear targets. In need of national standards for artificial intelligence application in higher education, specifically for study process, but actually to enhance the application of artificial intelligence, but not to put more burdens or possible threats of artificial intelligence. And this is challenging. Another thing is talking about national standards, the framework for higher education quality assurance and accreditation of study programs. Because the review has started regarding the learning outcomes and evaluation frameworks, especially when we speak about accreditation of new study programs. As well, the national standards for decreasing the bureaucracy in administration of higher education. We see the possibilities of application of artificial intelligence not only during the study process, but also in decreasing the burden of administration. For example, during the admission process to higher education, or even during the evaluation processes of higher education, or again, accreditation of the whole higher education institution. And finally, of course, improving and introducing the national standards on academic ethics. But again, I'm not here talking about the research part, which is dominant in higher education, but more about higher education process itself. So thank you for giving me the floor and listening, and thank you once more for having a chance to participate. And I will try to finish my presentation, just a moment, and stop sharing the screen. So thank you once more.
Thank you very much, Saule, for your talk. Saule is the president of the National Council of Education in Lithuania. We missed you at the General Assembly. I hope next time you will be in person.
I will. I'm sorry for this.
Thank you very much. Anyway, you are with us from Lithuania, right?
I am, and yes, I'm from Vilnius, and my team is there, and I believe they really had very good representation at the Executive Council.
Excellent. So now I give the floor to Professor Amine Bensaid, President of Akhawayn University in Ifrane, in Morocco. He will talk about AI in education, or reflection on opportunities and challenges. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon. We're 2 minutes past noon. Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you, Mr. President, for your invitation. I'd like to put my presentation in context of something that Mrs. Miriam van Leuven said, I think this morning, to the effect that that we are now faced with choosing the right path for AI in education, and Professor Malik Ghalab saying that we're now able to do more than we can understand with AI as part of the achievements of AI, and so my perception is that we're somewhere where it seems like we have an engine that looks like a Formula One engine. We don't understand all of it necessarily, but the question is, okay, what do we do with this? And what I'd like to start with is, what kind of opportunities does it create for countries like Morocco? What opportunities are there in higher education? But I honestly feel goofy talking about this after Malik Ghalab's presentation this morning, and giving an example of what could be done as we're really searching for this path. General context is that a lot is changing in the world, and then generative AI came on top of all of this. So it's really a context of unprecedented acceleration and of lots of uncertainty, and now we are having to deal with AI. The facts are, it has been adopted already. These two graphs show the searches starting when ChatGPT came out, searches on Google for things like ChatGPT, Bard, Claude, and so on. And this is in the US, and this is in Morocco. So there is that adoption, but then the question of what is the path? I have borrowed this quote from Stephen Hawking, who's really not an AI person, but he was saying something to the effect that if we can use AI to amplify our minds, use it as tools for humans, and somehow undo some of the damage humans have already done to themselves. That it would then be a great success in creating AI that would constitute the biggest event in the history of our civilization. So this is not an AI person, but clearly a bright mind as he was thinking about AI. So in this perspective, I just wanted to share this quickly as we are all thinking about impact. Morocco, this is my subjective perspective. Morocco seems to be at an inflection point where it has done enough and has been able to have enough successes to get some self-confidence that we can become an emerging country. And it has done some deep thinking with a report out about 3 years ago about a new development model for Morocco, but clearly with lots of challenges. And today we seem to be at an inflection point with generative AI. Inflection for all the very good reasons that Malik Ghalab has described. But really specifically, I'm thinking about the inflection point of being able to converse with technology, which seems to be out for the first time. And it reminds me a little bit of the empowerment that prototyping has given to countries like Korea, where it has empowered innovation because it made it so much easier for people to try what they were thinking. Prototype it and then decide, do I go ahead or not go ahead? Morocco is and I believe many other countries may be at this kind of level. Morocco is at a level where it is moving at two different speeds, with Moroccans being at two different speeds. And the question is, to me, is does generative AI offer this technology that we can converse with? Does it offer enough enough opening, entering innovation to those who are not as good? In order for, I think it was one of the Secretary Generals who had said it, he said something to the effect that development is when science becomes a culture. So can we, thanks to generative AI, make innovation a culture and get to the critical mass, to the tipping point where we can move further because we would have a critical mass that now has access to innovation thanks to this? Now, the rest of my, maybe even not just the rest, but I think my entire message today is about talent. So in order for a country like Morocco to have a chance at this tipping point, if there is some path in order to get to the tipping point, there are prerequisites that are not prerequisites for advanced countries. Many advanced countries are more advanced. But I'm concentrating on one of them, which is the need for talent. And there are risks to this. Again, Karim Ghalab has addressed a number of them. I'm sorry, Malik Ghalab, this is the co-occurrence of Ghalab in Morocco that is causing us this. So Malik Ghalab has addressed a number of them, but I'm coming back to them from a talent perspective here. So there is a challenge with respect to jobs, especially in a country where the percentage of unemployed youth is very high, is higher than unemployed youth who have diplomas, who have higher education diplomas, is higher than any other percentage in Morocco. It's about 25%. And so there is that challenge. So what do we do about that? What trade-off between using AI to automate and AI to assist? What challenges for upskilling? Well-being. Again, Malik Ghalab earlier said that we're using more AI than we think we are. And one of the ways that we are using AI is on the internet, in social media. And a lot of what we see on social media is AI, the engines behind what is happening for monetizing the economy. There is a lot of targeted marketing mass customization, targeted marketing, and so on, where AI is behind for the segmentations and the profiling. And so just putting AI together with virtuality and with this algorithms for monetization seems to have impacted the well-being, especially of the new generation, and I'll come to give some data about this later. Impacts on democracy. There is a lot of questions in countries like the US about the role of social media, and so the algorithms behind in the polarization that is happening, because we keep presenting everybody with things that they like and agree with, and so everybody gets really into a little bit of a bubble, their own bubble. What impacts on cognitive laziness? I think there was some addressing of this a little bit by Malik. The bias of the outcomes, the bias of the algorithms on the one hand, the bias of the data on the other, the limitations of these algorithms and what is called hallucinations, but also the possible manipulations in the training data and so on for this bias. Then the question of privacy for students, for professors and so on. And then the combination of AI with action. There has been, I think, for many years this combination, but it just seems that we're getting now to the point where we're starting to trust AI more. And so this action, decisions taken by AI and action by AI, whether it's in autonomous vehicles or whether it's in wars, is something that certainly is part of the risk. And now I'd like to move specifically to examples from higher education, where generative AI seems to have become a partner, a thought partner. There are some numbers that are about 1 year old. They're really from July of last year. These are K-12 numbers, where in the US, where 42% of the students were using ChatGPT, whereas 63% of the educators were using ChatGPT. This was surprising to me, but these are, I double-checked these numbers. But the interesting thing also is that 62% of faculty were not able to detect text that was AI generated. I'm sure that none of my colleagues would agree with me on this, but this is what has come out in the report. And the question of assessment clearly is a very big question, and that certainly is something that I hear a lot back on campus. The interesting thing also is that 75% of the students said they will continue to use generative AI even if faculty or the institutions ban it. So it's here to stay. The questions of whether faculties, some professors' questions of whether we should be using it or not is really pretty much behind us. And so the real question that remains is what pathway? Now, I'd like to take you on our campus and to tell you that I'm highly guilty of not having perceived what this inflection point could be when ChatGPT came out in November or December 2022. I happen to also have worked on AI, and I just thought it was just well, now that I heard what Monique said, I realized that I'm quite behind. But I thought this was just another evolution, right? Until in February 2023, I read that Sciences Po Paris had banned the use of ChatGPT. And I was like, oops, what's happening? And so I invited professors to say, would you like to chat about this? Would you like to converse? Not ChatGPT. Would you like us to have a chat about this? And so about 60 of them came to this informal exchange, and I was really surprised that among the 60, there was a critical mass that was already using. So in 3 months, they were already using it, and they were already thinking about ways to take their teaching or the teaching and learning to a higher level. In the same year, more than 50% of our engineering students that were not in the AI field. So some of them were in computer science, but most of them were in engineering, not in computer science and not in AI, more than 50% of their capstone projects were using generative AI. That was a bit surprising to me. Demand in the Moroccan market has pretty much taken off exponentially in engineering and in computer science, probably because of this phenomenon. I mean, I have no study for the cause and effect, but the size of our engineering school has tripled since 2020, but clearly demand, we see that has increased significantly. On the other hand, we are also facing challenges. So last spring, so about a year ago, we've had one case of academic integrity where a professor brought a student to say they cheated using ChatGPT, and after investigation, they failed the course. And then last May of last, so exactly 1 year ago, after our finals and all faculty submitted the grades and all of that, one faculty member said, I think my entire class used ChatGPT. And we looked into it, and then we had to redo the entire thing. So there was one class that caused the entire university to be late in processing the transcripts because she wanted to really just redo the exam, and we allowed her to do that. So this past year or 18 months has been really humbling lessons and continuous learning in agility for everyone. I say for everyone, including university management, but we all really have huge empathy for faculty. I think it's very challenging, very difficult to be a professor today, maybe than it has ever been, just because we're supposed to be the experts, we are the source of knowledge, and we developed an attitude vis-a-vis students. And now the whole thing seems to be destabilized. This is what we're doing about jobs. So what we have decided to do is that we're thinking that we see that our partners, that our corporate partners are themselves challenged. Everything is moving so fast. And so what we decided to do is just to seek an intimate relationship to them so that as things are changing for them, we see them changing. So we have introduced both AI skills in the curriculum, but a lot of experiential learning, getting very intimate with them and the relationship with employers. We started playing the role of a recruitment agency for them. Tell us what skills and behaviors you need, and we are following this extremely closely. Now, I'm taking a risk to say here is where I think higher education may be heading. I believe that employers are really challenged by all the transformations, and as a result challenged on their business on the market, and as a result they are really putting more pressure on having the skills that they want, and these skills are changing. It's like a moving target. So, and the more nervous they get about this, the more they're seeking the skills. So I believe there will continue to be a pressure on skills, and then pressure on universities, not only from employers, but also from students, because they want these skills, so the demand, and then from the corporate world, the IBMs, the Googles, the Amazons, they all want to offer badges now. So if the corporate world is going for skills, some of these trainings that are for certifications are becoming a challenge to universities as well. Now, the other challenge is that there are about 200 million students in private higher education today. The forecast is 380 million by 2030. That's a huge increase in 5 years. Now, the trick is that most of this will happen in Asia and in Africa. In Africa, for example, there are about 10% of students who should be, or young people who should be students in higher education, who are really in education. So there's about 90% who are not. So that growth is there. Since there is that growth, there is an opportunity and the opportunity is also for investors. So my belief is that there will be a lot of money being poured, invested in higher education, not just to educate people, but to make money, because there is money to be made. Because there will be, we will ask for, corporates will ask for skills, and universities will have to follow, and I don't know whether we will be able to catch up, so money will be there in order to do more. Now, because of the online teaching and learning and the tools and all of that, there is a lot of data there, and so the question is, so how do you deal with this growth? You can deal typically in one of two ways. Either by having fixed curricula and standardization that you can roll out in a scalable way, or you can do what I'm referring to here as mass customization, because you have the data, because you can do the profiling, because you can adapt the learning to the student. I think this is what will be happening, and I think it will be happening because there will be a lot of money there, and those who are able to succeed in this will make a lot more money. And so I believe there will be an increase in the use of AI to scale up, but hopefully for better success and better access, thanks to the adaptation, the adaptive learning, and to the profiling. I will come back to this in just a little bit, but I just wanted to give an idea of the other things that we have had to do. We have come out with an AUI institutional AI policy in September 2023. A lot of universities, partner universities, especially in the US, that we know have theirs. Our three key principles are: we have set boundaries for ethical and unethical use. We are encouraging and supporting our faculty for buy-in and more. I'll say a couple of more words about this. And we are giving faculty freedom to use or not use AI. So far, this is where we are. These are our three principles. On the other hand, we are doing a lot. So we are, since February 2023, we do about one workshop for faculty per month on AI, on the use of AI for education, really on what we believe are 21st century liberal arts education, on AI specifically in education, and on innovation and assessment. The idea is to see how AI is being used into these things. And we continue, a colleague earlier was talking about the need to continue upgrading this. So that is exactly what we're doing. And the idea is to be able to assist faculty so that they decide they want to use the AI and they're not threatened by it. So what we see and what I think will be the 5 things to watch in EdTech, or specifically in AI for education, are really the AI empowerment of learning management systems, the personalization of learning, which I'm coming back to, chatbots and virtual assistants for not only for recruiting, but for advising and for, again, hope for more access and more success, gamification in learning, and then assessment, which I think is also the elephant in the room still today. Now, so with respect to jobs, I believe where we're going will give the skills to the students. But Malik Lab also referred to social skills. I think this may be a challenge, and that we have to think about what do we do about it. And now I'll focus a little bit for a couple of minutes on well-being. So it looks like this combination of AI and virtuality has given some results that we can now see. And these results are really with respect to the mental health of the current generation, the Gen Z. And I don't know what will happen with the Alpha generation. I haven't seen data yet. But what this shows is that this is a study from 2012 from a book called iGen, I as in internet generation. And what it shows is that whether it's about depressive episodes, and it's on 11 million, it's on a sample of 11 million Gen Z young Americans. Whether it's with respect to depression or anxiety and self-harm, since about 2012, these things have started increasing exponentially. So depression, severe depression, anxiety, and self-harm have started increasing exponentially. And then happiness on the one hand and self-esteem on the other have started decreasing exponentially. There is very little doubt that there is a challenge of mental health with Gen Z. The biggest theory is that it is due to the generalization of smartphones. And that really is in relationship to the interaction and the impacts of social media, and both of them have a relationship to the use of AI. Now, the other risks are with respect to democracy, cognitive laziness, bias, and privacy. We'll not go into a lot of detail here, but I will tell you what we are doing about it. So we are looking for the best way to include AI skills across the curriculum, which means that not just for computer scientists or for AI students. We have decided, because of the risks, to strengthen the liberal arts and sciences component, really the human dimension, for all students, for engineering students, for business students, for communication students, for diplomacy students, for all of those students. And we have, starting this year, what we've decided to do is, for this human dimension, is to include explicitly the working with our students for developing purpose, working with our students to make friends, explicitly make friends. I'm referring to the Harvard study, the longest longitudinal study, if you're familiar with that. We are working with them on cultural anchoring. We believe the manipulation. Malik Ghalab earlier talked about it, the risk for manipulation. So I think that between the AI and the opportunity to make a lot of money, we have already seen manipulation. Now, if we start teaching these students adaptively, adapting to them, and somebody can make money by manipulating them, I feel we will have more intimate access to them, and as a result, more risk. We are working on career success, as I said, by revisiting our relationship with both to the skills and to the corporate partners. We are working explicitly on flourishing of the Gen Z, and we have decided to focus our research on what we refer to as impact research. The idea being to really work on purpose, to give a compass to this generation, thanks to purpose. Thank you very much for your attention. This is the campus where we're doing all of this.
Thank you very much, Amine Bensaid, who, in addition of being president of Akhawayn University, is a member of this council and an active member of the Commission of Scientific Research. Thank you very much again. Now the floor is to our colleagues from Portugal, from the Technical National Council of Education, Adélia Lopes and Fernanda Candeias. The talk is about digital transition and artificial intelligence in education, a challenge for Portugal public policies. The statistics on students are really scary. This is what
Good morning.
Shocks me, mental health. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
So it's a pleasure to be here, and I would like to make a statement. I think the teachers are the most important resource inside the school and inside the class. So I believe in AI, but teachers are the best resource that we have. So let's see what we want to show you today. Our proposal is digital transition and artificial intelligence in education, a challenge for Portuguese public policies. So let's see. We propose you 3 topics: AI and education. Path, we all speak about path. I'm speaking about path also. For an intelligent dialogue, intelligent because we are talking about 2 intelligences, different. So human and artificial, and the second fed by us and requires constant training and vigilance. So I want to talk you about the use of AI in education, and has sparked intense debate around different issues, both technological and pedagogical. We must think about the pedagogical also, and may we also discuss this later on, concerning the effectiveness and relevance of these systems in the educational contexts. Currently, ethical issues, as we know, have come to the forefront due to the importance that different technologies have taken on in education, including those based on AI. In this context, the European Union's EU Artificial Intelligence Regulation is the first law that you spoke earlier today to address the issue of artificial intelligence through a regulatory framework that aims to ensure that AI systems are safe, comply with legislation, and respect the EU's fundamental rights and values. This European regulatory framework provides guidelines for the management of all types of personal data. However, there are still sensitive aspects that concern the protection of data from educational systems. All over the world, AI systems are penetrating the majority of sectors of society, creating sometimes a disturbing proximity, since they are based on the collection of data from our use and therefore our digital footprints. From search engines to intelligent assistants, conversational robots, language translation or navigation applications, among many others, systems using AI are present and they are here to stay in our daily lives. So, ChatGPT has taken center stage at this level, so it's worth seeing what's already available in its version 4. Let's take a brief look at some of its features in terms of chat, tutorial, profile, and even emotion simulation. I've chosen a small video just to show, and maybe we talk about what we have now. Let's see if we can see it.
Hey, ChatGPT, I'm Mark. How are you?
Oh, Mark. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Hey, so I'm on stage right now. I'm doing a live demo, and frankly, I'm feeling a little bit nervous. Can you help me calm my nerves a little bit?
Oh, you're doing a live demo right now? That's awesome. Just take a deep breath. And remember, you're the expert here.
I like that suggestion. Let me try a couple of deep breaths. Can you give me feedback on my breaths? Okay, here I go.
Whoa, slow a little bit there. Mark, you're not a vacuum cleaner. Breathe in for a count of 4.
Okay, let me try again. So I'm gonna breathe in deeply. And then breathe out.
For 4, and then exhale slowly.
Okay, I'll try again. Breathing in and breathe out.
That's it. How do you feel?
I feel a lot better. Thank you so much.
You've just seen the voice capabilities, but we also want to show you the vision capabilities, as the model can also see the whole world around us.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as you can see, you can chat with ChatGPT in real time, but you can also interact with it with video as well. Okay, so let me boot up ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT.
Hello there. How's it going?
It's going really well. Today, I'd really like your help solving a math problem.
I'm all ears. What math problem can I help you tackle today?
So I'm going to write down a linear equation on a sheet of paper and I'll show you. And then I'd love your help working me through it. But importantly, don't tell me the solution, just help give me hints along the way.
Got it.
Exactly. So what's the first step I should take to try to solve this?
The first step is to get all the terms with x on one side and the constants on the other side. So what do you think we should do with that +1?
Okay, I'm going to try to subtract 1 from both sides and then I'll see what I get.
Great idea. Perfect. Now, what do you get when you subtract 1 from both sides?
Okay, so ChatGPT, this is what I ended up with. How does this look?
Spot on. Now you've isolated the term with x on one side, and it looks like 3x equal 3. What do you think we should do next to solve for x?
I'm not sure. Can you give me another hint?
Of course. You have 3x, and you want to find the value of x. Think about what operation would undo multiplication.
Is it subtraction?
Close, but think of the opposite of multiplication, because 3x means 3 times x.
Okay, I think it's division. Let me try to divide both sides by 3 and let me see what I get.
Bingo! Go ahead and divide both sides by 3.
Okay, so ChatGPT, this is what I ended up with. How does this look?
It looks perfect. You've solved it, and x equals 1. Nicely done. How do you feel about solving linear equations now?
Yeah.
So, what's our role as teachers? And then we saw the importance of formative assessment. And I think it's very special, this video. You have it in YouTube, of course. So as we can see, in just a few months, we have an extraordinary upgrade of ChatGPT's features, bringing it closer to a companion, a tutor, with formative feedback, someone you can turn to, always available and present, someone you can talk to. The application of artificial intelligence in education is a fast-growing reality and has motivated development of research on the subject in recent years. Artificial intelligence in education has led to a change in the way the learning process is viewed, which has been greatly facilitated both by rapid access to these systems and by their improved and expanded functionalities. In 2022, the European Commission published the document Ethical Guidelines for Education on the use of artificial intelligence and data in teaching and learning as a part of the Digital Education Action Plan 2021-2027. According to the document, AI has great potential to improve teaching and learning practices and help schools improve the way they are organized and how they function. It suggests the use of AI systems in education, namely through the use of intelligent tutoring systems, using natural language conversation and individualized instructions and feedback, dialogue-based tutoring systems, and the use of language learning applications. However, machine learning offers an unpredictability that is unsettling, since it endows machines with the ability to construct and reconstruct knowledge and programs that are widely used in our daily lives. Oops. AI forces us to rethink how we teach and how students learn. I repeat, AI forces us to rethink how we teach and how students learn. In this context, with OECD's Learning Compass 2030 as a reference, Portugal has designed a benchmark that takes into account the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values set in the profile of students leaving compulsory schooling. In this framework, the young learner is expected to be a citizen who develops multiple literacies so that he can criticalize, analyze, and question reality, evaluate and select information, formulate hypotheses, and make informed decisions in his daily life. Is free, autonomous, and responsible, self-aware, aware of the world around them. Is autonomous and able to make use of several developed skills, critical thinking that we're talking early in the morning. So in this area lies one of the main questions we need to think about. How can we prepare students for intelligent, responsible, and in-depth interaction with these systems? On the other hand, one of the major current issues that has been addressed, namely by Noam Chomsky, is the development of digital literacy skills and critical thinking, especially when faced with reality that requires constant validation, questioning, and identification of sources. To this end, Portugal has invested in the digital transition within the framework of the European Community Digital Education Action Plan. The current plan continues to focus on the digital empowerment of schools through digital development of schools as teacher training, digital education resources. This investment, which is still ongoing, has gained particular relevance in the context of COVID-19 pandemic and the need to strengthen communication between schools and families, between teachers and students, and to improve the quality of teaching and learning. The transformation that accompany the development of AI in learning are a powerful catalyst for paradigm shift in education, although fundamental principles must be preserved. AI literacy, its basic foundations and critical thinking in its use are essential for all students to learn how to navigate and benefit from the new tools. It is also important that schools have the conditions to guarantee fair access to AI tools. The quality of AI and the equity of its use depends on the existence of infrastructures that allow widespread individual access and reliable internet, up-to-date software and tools, training and continuous updating for teachers and students. In this context, we want to share with you our National Council recommendations. I'm passing to Adélia. Thank you.
Well, according to all those challenges, what we are doing in our National Council about those topics, those questions. Let me say that, okay, all those questions are concerning for us at our National Council of Education, and they have been subject of discussion, reflection, and production of some recommendations. Let me tell you also about our annual publication. We call it The State of Education, and in 2022, this publication addressed the issue of AI. Why? Because it's challenging us to reflect on this topic, and it's an urgent question for the reasons that Fernanda told you already. One of those recommendations has to do with educators and teachers training programs. Why? Because they must be concerned with an ethical and technological approach associated with the use of AI, because it is necessary to validate, to question, and to identify information resources in order to make the use of AI a safety and meaning resource to teach and to learn. It also we refer that we need to design an AI training framework for educators and teachers that could reinforce and demonstrate the importance of the public and social space on the school in order to develop an AI learning process. What we want to say? We want to say that teachers need to know what it is AI when we talk about it, and what they can use, what they can do using it to improve students' learning and to diversify strategies and also to personalize their teaching and learning work. Because, as Fernanda said, nowadays it's completely different to teach and to learn. It also refers the needs of, in our National Council, we also believe that it is necessary to develop a teacher training system that encourages teachers to realize the potential of AI in their job concerning teaching, learning, and assessment, namely how to teach, how to learn, and how to access in a context where AI is increasing and developing so quickly, and where we really need to change and find another educational purpose, another educational paradigm. School leaders they have a very important role concerning the use of technology, and in particular the use of AI as a strategy to improve inclusion and to answer the challenge of cultural and linguistic diversity, which is always increasing. For this reason, it's important to promote and develop training programs for school leaders in order to raise their awareness of the use of AI as a strategic tool for inclusion. And the last recommendation topic, it's about the development of training programs for school leaders and decision makers. And why? Because they must know and realize which are the implications and consequences of the use of AI. We must remember that every day they use a lot of data, and they need to ensure that ethical principles and standards should be respected. When we talk about AI and its challenge in the field of education, we know that we still have a long way to walk and a big discussion and reflection to do in order to enlarge knowledge about it. With this presentation, we hope to have contributed for this discussion that together we need to do. So let's do it, let's talk about it, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for your both. The last but not the least, Hein Broekkamp, Senior Consultant Education Council in Netherlands, who will talk about artificial intelligence in education.
Good. Good afternoon. My name is Hein Broekkamp. I'm an advisor for the Dutch Educational Council, and I'm honored to talk about our report on the use of intelligent technology, which we published in 2022. And here's the cover of the report, as you can see in Dutch. And of course, I will explain it in English for you. I work for the council for 9 years now, and my background is educational sciences. In the past, I did some research on technology in education, but for this report, I've learned many new things. And the same is true for all council members, including 2 temporary members with a background in educational technology and AI that specifically for this advice joined the council. Mostly we write advisory reports, but this report is more an exploratory study than an advice. It offers a detailed analysis of how the use of intelligent technology may change various educational processes. In each report, we summarize our findings in an illustration or our advice. And again, this is Dutch. I will help you in English. The main conclusions. First of all, most, if not all, of the educational processes are likely to change fundamentally. That came out of our analysis. And second, they may change in positive or negative ways. For instance, the technology can be used to support and enrich learning and teaching, but also carries the risk of hinder learning and making education a more one-sided process. Similarly, it can promote autonomous learning, offering more inclusive education and enhancing motivation, but it can also make education less appealing with reduced personal contact, discouragement of initiative, reduction of autonomy, undesirable forms of standardization, monitoring, differentiation, and profiling. Third, exploiting the opportunities while managing the risks demands an active role for students, teachers, and others, like educational leaders, government officials, and technology providers. This presentation has 4 parts. Here's 3, but I added one. The last one I put separately, so this. In the first part, I will explain why we wrote the advice on this topic and why we focused on educational processes in detail. In the second part, I will explain how we proceeded with the report, and in the third part, I will describe implications for different actors in education, including teachers, educational leaders, and the government. And by educational leader, I mean school principals, school heads, school district leaders, and directors of studies. So our report is really relevant for all kinds of education and students with varying age and ability. And it says unit countries, but actually it's more general for all countries, I guess. So why this report? Now, we wrote the advice on the request of the Minister of Education. And the first advice on the use of digital means dates from 2018 and was a general advice about the use of digital technology. And the advice of 2022 focused specifically on intelligent digital technology, such as adaptive learning systems for practicing math or language, learning analytics, and virtual reality applications with adaptive elements. And some would call it AI. We call it intelligent technology because the term technology emphasizes that it is a means and not an end in itself. In the Netherlands, also another advisory board gave advice on advice on intelligent technology. For instance, in 2021, the Scientific Council of Policy Making, and their conclusion was that the rise of intelligent technology is a given, like the steam engine or electricity was. like those inventions, it has a huge impact in all areas of society. And the Minister of Education wanted to know how intelligent technology affects the education. So how did we proceed? Now we wanted to be concrete and specific in our answers. And therefore we broke down education, which is often used in general sense, but we broke it down in processes including teaching, developing education, and organizing education. And we focused on teaching and addressed the other processes more casually. And we broke down teaching in further sub-processes. And these processes constitute the chapters and sections of our report. And it was expected that we would provide a list of the main changes, opportunities, and risks concerning the use of intelligent technology. But while working on the report, we realized there is no such list. That is because all changes involved in the use of intelligent technology are dependent on the specific ways in which the technology is designed and how people use the technology. Often the same technology can be both an opportunity and a risk. For instance, the technology can make education more individualized or too individualized. However, specific applications can support collaborative learning. In the final report, we describe for each of the educational teaching processes positive and negative scenarios that are likely to occur. And subsequently, we describe how the various actors may take in an active role in order to profit from the technology and prevent that negative effects occur. And we chose to focus on the current technology and technology that was likely to be developed within 5 years. So we mentioned ChatGPT in a footnote actually. It would have been a chapter by now, to be honest. Our scenario required some speculation and of course grounding. We did this by studying the research literature, visiting schools and universities where the technology was used and interviewing experts, education professionals and technology designers. Especially reading the literature was challenging because it requires both it's very technical, it requires both technological and pedagogical knowledge. I will return to the implications. First, for the teachers. Now, teachers may entrust some of the processes they have traditionally carried out themselves to the technology. This may support or offload them in some respects, but also makes teaching more complex because intelligent technology becomes an additional actor in the educational process. Active engagement of teachers is still necessary, even when intelligent technology takes over some processes, and even when this technology is used to enable students to learn more autonomously or more in accordance with their individual needs and preferences. Teaching demands qualities that computers do not possess, such as situational alertness, pedagogical sensitivity, and the ability to respond didactically to specific and unexpected situations. Therefore, you always need teachers. And their didactical and pedagogical expertise is essential in various aspects of teaching, including the presentation, discussion and application of subject matter, testing and giving feedback, formulating learning objectives, giving assignments, making allowance for different educational needs, and promoting autonomous learning. Their expertise is also essential in engaging pupils, organizing joint activities, building interpersonal relationships with pupils, and safeguarding their well-being and health. while intelligent technology can play a substantial role in all of these processes, it's still subordinate to the role played by teachers. The challenge is really to combine the power of the technology with the strength of the teachers. Teachers also play a role in educational preparation, evaluation, design, improvement, and innovation. The emergence of intelligent technology increases the importance of these roles in that it demands considerations of all kinds of technological, pedagogical, didactical, and organizational issues. And teachers do this in conjunction with other experts, such as ICT specialists and educational scientists. And what are the implications for educational leaders? Well, they have a key responsibility. Their task is to ensure that students and teachers possess sufficient digital literacy. They should prevent that some groups of students benefit more from the technology than others. They call that the digital gap. Educational leaders can also facilitate teachers by bringing in technology assistance. Under no circumstances should they cut back on teachers, because teachers are crucial for using the technology in responsible ways. Instead, they should facilitate teachers and create time and space for them for educational development, professional development, and collaboration with other schools and professionals. Somehow I skipped one slide, so I do it. I read it aloud. So, because there is also implications for the government. The government's task is to develop frameworks to protect privacy and data security around the use of intelligent technology. It also has a task in formulating attainment targets regarding the digital literacy of students and perhaps also of teachers. The government is also responsible for regulating the market for educational technology and preventing market dominance by a small number of providers. And finally, the government can encourage collaboration projects for the development of intelligent technology. By ensuring that teachers take part, it can be prevented that the technology becomes an aim in itself. And as the Dutch Educational Council emphasizes in this report, technology in education should, in the end, always be a means of promoting, for promoting the learning of students. Now, concerning the topic of intelligent technology, we see no differences in the desirable approach between the Netherlands and other unique countries or other countries. On the basis of our report, we therefore advise the following. We should seize opportunities and manage risks of intelligent technology. Hereby, we should take a broad perspective on education and prevent technology determinism. Furthermore, we should consider technology as complementary and stimulate an active role of actors. Also, we should equip actors and avoid a digital divide. All of this requires co-creation at different levels of the educational system, and we should invest time and money in the development of intelligent technology. At the same time, we should set frameworks to direct and regulate the use of technology. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Hein. We're a little bit behind of time, but I think we can take 4 to 5 questions or comments for the panelists. I want to make sure if Saule is still with us online. Yeah, great. Excellent. questions, comments? I think one of the common issues that have been raised in this panel is that definitely we have benefits of AI in education, but we also have risks that we need to understand and manage. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Jens Vermeers from GEO in Belgium. One of the things I'm a little bit missing in what we've been seeing, it's all about learning and stimulating the learning process, but I'm also wondering how those processes of artificial intelligence can help teachers with the boring part of the job, where they have to make reports and have to create all sorts of journals or stuff in writing, and could it in a way facilitate them and help them to do that bureaucracy in a more efficient way and thus liberate more time for teaching? Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments? Please go ahead, Mr. Swahi, and then our colleagues.
Bonjour. Très certainement, l'intelligence artificielle impactera la manière d'enseigner, la manière d'appréhender l'école, l'université, la recherche scientifique. C'est très certainement vrai dans les prochaines années.
It is very true in the upcoming years. We in the South countries, whenever we have a technology structuring or transformative technology, it calls for our curiosity, because we learned that nothing is free, and that behind AI we have economic models, that there are investments, huge investments that are deployed in terms of research, and that till we receive new information, the big tech companies have not said that they're philanthropists in here, and that they are expecting you to give them some money. Now, this will be one of the most complicated tasks for the South country. And here the gap between the South and the North will keep on growing if we're not vigilant enough. I found the declaration from a Google officer that talked about, the free access, yes, because we're looking for users, because we're developing the expectations and the needs, but then we'll find a way to monetize it. Now, in relation to education, this is more complicated, and publicity or advertising here does not work. You know that in September in New York, we'll have the Summit of the Future, the Summit of the United Nations on Education, where education is considered to be a right as evident and inherent as having access to clean air. Now, access to public services also is related to this in a sense. If we're talking about tools that change our lives, whether it's related to education or else, we need to think more seriously about the place of AI. Is it a service? Is it at the service of AI, of humans? And will the financing be public then?
One question. We were talking about how artificial intelligence is useful, and all the participants of the school have to use it because it's the future. I can understand on the side of the teachers, they are forced to use all these new tools, otherwise they cannot keep their job. But the students, as we could see on this short YouTube video, they would like to use it to ease their job, to get more points. In our education, they work for points, and they would like to have the less effort for the more points. And I don't really understand how can we make them use it for effort, for make it not that easy the people, but learning more and affecting more intelligence in their life and their critical thinking and whatever. Gamification in our country, that means that students should feel they are playing. But in my school, the higher level school, we emphasize that you make more effort if you would like to achieve higher achievements. So my question is, how can we make students be easier and eager to use artificial intelligence? The interest.
Thank you very much. Lynn and then Jean-François.
Thank you very much to all of the speakers. Such a fascinating set of presentations. And I suppose what I've been thinking about and reflecting on is the equality aspect of what underpinned a lot of the presentations, and in particular that piece where we respect the autonomy of the teacher as a professional, or the lecturer as an academic, as an autonomous professional, and say, well, it's up to you the extent to which you engage, but at the same time we want to create equality of opportunity for all of the learners. So Monique talked about the early adopters, the passionate person, the technical person, which is magnificent on one side, but what if I'm in a class where that's not who's in front of me? So how do we support that equality of opportunity, given all the risks that we've described in the conversation today? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynn. Jean-François?
Je vais parler en français pour être plus précis. Le premier élément concerne une réponse à ta...
I will speak in French to be more precise. In relation to equality, we've seen on the video that the student was receiving some help, just as we could help a parent, or we're talking here about democratizing help for some students who couldn't get access to the tool in question. Now, it's as if there was a contradiction in the uses of AI, because we're focused on procedural approaches rather than conceptual ones. Since AI contains already the aspects of procedure, we're wondering what is the point? What's the use? If we can't have procedural approaches to teach students, then where is this leading us? I think about programming, for instance. We find code everywhere, and we have applications called no code. We don't need even to learn code. So software now takes care of it. And now, going back to the procedural aspects again, I do not understand why it's useful. Maybe it just justifies what doesn't help learning. This is very important, and professors should be careful with regards to it if they want to preserve their pre-value. Thank you very much. Ilian from UNESCO, based in Rabat. Thank you for having invited us to this conference that showcases in a remarkable way the role of councils. We've seen in relation to the program and the panels that we'll have today and tomorrow, that it is important to be precise and to be able to give advice and evaluate and assess. My colleague and I, Santolini, who will have a keynote tomorrow, will speak about something that intrigued me: financing. Now, we are working at the level of 5 Maghreb countries that are covered by our regional office, a study of the situation to see how the digital educational aspects are involved in 5 pillars will be studied: coordination, governance, and we spoke of it this morning with Miriam, and also the question of the skills of the professors, connectivity, and the cost. My colleague announced to me and he will speak tomorrow about the report of 2023, the follow-up report on education. That's a global report, and it's centered on education themes, and it's attempting to answer many questions in relation to the needs that are present from an ethical dimension. There is a chapter centered on financing simulations and budget simulations in specific to see how much it would cost to transform education and to boost the digital aspects here. UNESCO tools have been deployed and they're tested in several countries already. There are tools to help political actors decide, and also there are frameworks, reference frameworks in specific that can be adapted to many different countries in relation to digital skills and AI skills. This concerns both professors and students, and the tools are again tested and will be more active in the partner countries. It's important to highlight that we're oriented towards councils, yes, but we also have chairs within the University of lfrane. We've got one notably, and these are flagships that highlight the importance of these questions, and we attempt to encourage them in order to activate further these networks. Thank you.
Our Secretary General in the Council here in Morocco. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Hisham. Thank you really to all speakers for their presentations and talks. As we know all together that all the educational systems across the world are facing rapid and significant transformations. So my question is, what, in your point of view, what are the key points that we have to change rapidly to be sure that all transformations in the future will be good things for our educational systems, students, teachers, and all components of our educational systems. Thank you.
Thank you. Saule?
Thank you. Out of many points about which I would like to react in this very interesting debate, let me raise just one concerning whether we should forbid or not the use of ChatGPT or any other things. And I'll do that with respect to an anecdote. Moyan is a well-known author. Maybe the name is familiar to you. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature. He's a Chinese author, Nobel Prize in Literature. He was invited to make a talk. He made a nice talk, and everyone congratulated him for his talk and so on. And later on, he said the talk was written by ChatGPT. Maybe you saw the story. I think we should not forbid. It doesn't make sense to forbid the use of any tool. We should explain, we should train, we should empower our students for the use of this tool. And my last point is I was very pleased and honored to host a talk by the late philosopher Michel Serres some 12 years ago, and he concluded his talk saying that with AI we are condemned of being intelligent, of becoming intelligent. We are condemned of becoming intelligent. Let's train our students to be at this level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If no questions, more questions, Hisham?
Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Hisham. If you allow me, I'll address my question to Mrs. President. You insisted on the fact that we speak about learning within the context of education. We don't speak often of scientific research. My question is, what is the place of research in relation to AI? Research in education sciences is important, and now can we use and leverage AI in this sense and develop research in social sciences and philosophy to think the place of AI and the risks and opportunities that come with it? Are there developments in this sense in Canada or else in relation to research again and academia? Thank you. Vous avez la parole.
React. Go ahead, please. 2 minutes each, if you want.
Merci. Donc, merci pour la question.
Thank you for the question. I insisted on the fact that the reports of the Council highlight the importance of research at different levels. Indeed, there is a need to study how AI can be used through multiple facets and perspectives. We need to tackle that indeed. As for the one of the paths is mutualizing resources. There is a certain importance to have a referential skills. And then there is this wicked question: how do we respect the autonomy of professionals, of professors, knowing that AI is there? We shouldn't at the same time deprive the users from it. Here we have a community of learners, and mutualizing resources and having reference cards for skills is important. It will allow for research to go forward, because if we look in a systematic way, like archaeologists will have higher odds of advancing. And now there are many works in this sense, a lot of convergence, and we see elements established at the level of Quebec and the French-speaking and English-speaking and multilingual communities. Really, we tend to focus on mutualizing developed resources. I asked another question to a specialist, telling him, well, do we have an added value with AI? He said yes, but all sectors should use it in such a way as to enable the maximum of people to benefit from it in turn. But I believe again that the right to education should be preserved, and that AI in this vein should be leveraged to enhance this right throughout the lives of people. Thank you, Adélia and Fernanda.
My best English to answer some questions. I think we must think about the process of learning and teaching in an integrated way. We see schools now thinking that AI is in the future, but is still present, is still there. So I think the most important problem now, and I'm not talking about only Portugal, I guess it's the same problem in many countries, is how teachers deal with technology. And forbidding technology or AI systems inside the process, inside the school, I think it's not a good strategy. Because students, they all use this, we all use this in our daily lives. So I think the process of learning and teaching must be redesigned. But I would prefer to think the schools and as a living system, organic system that is working, dialing, working in pairs, working and debating, not only to defend from a threat, but to think the process in another way. Students learn in another way from some years now, so we must teach in another way also. And the onus is for too much sometimes for the teachers, but the teachers must know how to adapt, and the schools are an open space, and the schools are inside society and reflects society. It's not a safe place to be with walls, great walls, we must know how to learn and to empower our students and empower our colleagues and ourselves. I don't think that the main strategy is not to work with our colleague, and I think the research is very important. We must invest in case studies. We must know how to learn with that case studies and try to do better. But we can only do better with our students, not without them.
Just let me say one thing, besides all that Fernanda said. In my opinion, teacher is not in danger. The job, teacher job, it's not in danger. Why? Because in my opinion, we really need teachers to help students to deal with ICTs, with intelligence, artificial intelligence. So critical thinking, it's really, really necessary. And I'm so sorry, but it's not a machine that will help us, our students, to do that. And the relation and the communication, we only can do that human with human people. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hein?
Well, I'd like to endorse that last statement. We agree fully, I think, as I speak for the Educational Council in Holland. I wanted to answer the question. Whether how you can prevent that the technology makes life hard for teachers and too easy for students. How you can do that? I think. The answer I think of is make better assignments, especially. That's important. Rethink your education, and then to quote Michel Serres, that we are condemned to be intelligent. For teachers, teachers are condemned to be too innovative, didactic experts. They should invest in educational development. They should get time for that, and they should be facilitated. And then they can, I think, they can make students make effort, because that's important. That's how they learn. That's how they get critical. And then I think it's also important that teachers have to rethink the learning objectives, and they have to rethink their role, complementary to the technology. It's really educational science would love it all, because it's getting more professional, more didactical. So it can really enrich education, but if you don't do that, it will make it one-sided and make it very poor education, and maybe really easy for students, and that's not what you want. So we have to invest all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me start with an example to come back to the added value of the faculty, which I'm happy to join everybody in the appreciation that there is no way that faculty will disappear. I think they are going through a transition where there is a challenge, but clearly that there is a added value, and I'll say a few words about it. But I'd like to start with examples. I have a number of friends, CEOs of companies in Morocco, who tell me that after ChatGPT, they have noticed that the French level of their engineers has improved. Unfortunately, the French level of our engineers has not been improving in Morocco, but with ChatGPT. So they all know that their engineers are now using ChatGPT, but they're happy with it. They're happy that the documents are now of a better quality. I have another CEO that I can think of who told me, so he's in Casablanca, CEO of a relatively large 40 million euro company, turnover per year company. And he told me that he had a project in a ministry with the government. So he came, he met with the director, they were discussing the project, and they discussed some other things. And when they were done, the director told him, you know, this idea that you told me, I'm meeting the minister this evening. If you can send me a letter about it, I think we can get another project. And he told me, but I had a packed day. I had no way of writing a letter or anything. So he got into the car, he prompted ChatGPT saying, I met the director in this ministry about this project. I told him this, he told me to write a letter. Can you write a letter for me? ChatGPT, of course, wrote the letter. He sent it to his technical director. The technical director said, wow, I didn't realize you were so good technically. So the letter worked, he sent it, it worked. So he started telling his engineers, you know, for these responding to the calls of bids, why don't you start using ChatGPT? So they started using ChatGPT. He told me, I am used to looking at all the calls for bids, all the answers to the calls for bids before we send them out. He said, and I'm so happy that I did it, because I checked this call for bids and it was really good, but it was written in Molière's French. And the engineer's level of French was not so good even to realize that this was Molière's French. So role of a faculty, of course, as guardrails of how to use the thing, right? Because there is, and there will be, I believe, always a reason to do this, because we know about the bias, we know about the training, we know about all of these things. But in addition to this, to Fernanda's point, I don't know if you're familiar, but there is this survey, a Gallup survey about the 6 key things, phenomena with respect to students. And the first one of them is that when a student has a professor in their college years, they have a professor who they feel cares about them individually as a human, their employability improves by 40% and their well-being improves by 70%. So I am worried. I believe we must use AI, and there's a lot of opportunities and all of that. But when I see some of these things where AI sounds human, I'm a little bit concerned about the students, not just the students, but specifically the students, thinking that they are dealing with a human. Because we know these algorithms behind it, and we know that the emotions are not there. And we know, so I don't believe AI will ever be able to give the 40% improvement in employability and the 70% improvement in well-being, because it is bringing that caring, the caring that these students need during their university journey. Now, how to use AI to allow better learning? There was another question, I think, how to use AI, but I'd like to give I had an exchange with someone at Carnegie Mellon who is specialized in this, and I asked the same question. And he told me that he believed that the best way of answering this question is to empower the non-technical professors in order for them to innovate and decide how they would like to answer the question. And his research is about this. He believed that this is the thing that will give the best results. Now I can give you an example or two. So we have, our university is on the American system, and so we do writing is an important part of what the students do in their freshman year and maybe sophomore year. And so you know how students learn about writing. They learn by the professor looking at their draft and giving feedback, and then they write again and they give feedback again, and then they write again. They do it 3 or 4 times. So it's not a spectator sport, it's by practice. So after ChatGPT, of course, there were many professors thinking, these guys are writing it with ChatGPT, they're not writing it themselves. So many of them, what they're doing now is they're saying, they're giving the same homework, writing homework, question, and they say, submit it to ChatGPT. So I ask you to submit it to ChatGPT, and I'm asking you to do it 4 different times to get 4 different results. And then I would like you to critique the 4 things and then to develop one where you tell me why you are, and you can see the learning is going up. Clearly it's going up. Now we have other professors who said spontaneously, normally I would be in class and there would be some times where I feel students are getting bored. I used to ask them a question. Whenever I think they're bored, I ask them a question and then maybe half of them will wake up because they want to answer the question. He said after ChatGPT, I don't ask them a question. I tell them, if I ask ChatGPT this question, here is what it answers. And he tells me 100% wake up. Again, so it's just using whatever the opportunity to say, for the professor to decide how they're going to do it. Last comment about the question Si Amine Sbahi's a question which I empathize with and I agree with respect to those risks. Looking at what is happening so far and at the money to be made, unfortunately, I think chances are this will not be offered for free. On the other hand, I think it may take the form that word processing or spreadsheets like Excel or Word and so there are licenses, right? And southern countries of the south are paying for the licenses, but there's also open source. So today there is open source AI, and the number are using it. And I believe part of the risks that we have to manage is we need to get our own thing, because there is the bias. The bias also depends on the trainings, what documents have been used for training. I haven't seen the recent research, but about 1 year ago, I read that research showed that ChatGPT was answering like a 40-year-old male from California. 40-year-old male from California, because of the documents it was trained on. So there are universities today that take an open source AI and they take it from scratch and they ask their professors to provide the documents for training. No bias. Or maybe the bias of the professors of that university. So these are the things that we will need to be looking at.
Thank you very much. Saule, you have the last word.
Thank you. It's very good to be the last one because everyone said really brilliant ideas. So let me concentrate on just a few answers and not to repeat my colleagues. There was a question about decreasing the administrative burden in case of teachers and so on, how AI may help. I would like to provide some of the examples which might be used successfully both in higher education and general education. One of them is AI can make the paperwork time more efficient, really, and the teachers may more concentrate on individual needs of the students. And I think this is one of the key aspects when we speak about social dimension in higher education or equal access to general education, especially in the countries which are in more have schools at rural areas. So it works both ways. Another thing is what AI may help as well is identification of the gaps when we speak about skills and competences of the students. I tried it already. It really works rather well. And as in both cases, in high concentration on individual paths of learning, as well the same is going on in general education, I think it really might help. So, and now there was also a question about how we can attract the students to use AI. Well, I think they are attracted enough already. But actually what could be another added value created while using artificial intelligence. For example, Everyone knows, probably everyone knows the Scopus database, full of different scientific papers, data, and so on and so on. They recently, I think a month ago, launched their own artificial intelligence tool. What it says to the students at higher education. So it means you can go, you can use a certain keywords you need, or a certain assignment of thesis, and you will have really not a bad R&D evaluation. What is done already by other researchers around the world in the topic you're interested in. And then you can concentrate more on your individual idea and make it more creative and try to have a better input from your side into the added value or whatever you are trying to propose, what kind of innovative solution, whether it is in humanities and social sciences and technologies, it doesn't matter where. And finally, there was one more question, so where we should concentrate now. And I don't want to, again, to repeat the colleagues were telling already, just to add a few points. From the approach of learning, I think that problem-based learning is something where we need to concentrate, especially at universities and in the senior classes of general education. Another point is interdisciplinarity. It means we all knew that it's not enough to be more technology-oriented or more social science-oriented, but it's obvious. With the appearance of AI, interdisciplinarity should be everywhere in the class. It doesn't matter what kind of study program you are studying at university or college, as well if you are studying a general education with a more oriented towards social sciences and humanities, it's obvious that interdisciplinarity should be present there. And there is one more thing, you know that for the last one, you know that for the last 10 years, everyone around the world, different international organizations were telling what are the main 10 competences or skills everyone should learn. It's obvious that with AI, it may help to construct every student their individual learning path, depending again on their gaps and skills. And I think this is a very useful tool because people are different. Younger generation is very different. They have not only different competences and skills when they come to university or when they come to senior class at school, but they also have a very different mature stage or learning capacities, let's put it that way. So AI may help them with that. So these are my main points, and thank you once more, and I'm giving my floor back. Thanks.